By what name are you known?
There are some who call me Tim.
Welcome to another episode of Timmy Talks, the channel where we talk old school magic. And today we are back in Hilversum, the Netherlands, for the Hill Giant Cup number 5. This is the third episode, and in today's episode we're going to look at Erwin, who is playing Robots, and he is taking on David, and David is playing Atog. I've called it Atog Valley. It's a pretty cool deck. Both decks are pretty artifact heavy, I can already tell you that. I've got lovely deck photos of both decks, by the way, but before I start with the deck text, first a quick message from our sponsor, 3for1 Trading. 3for1 Trading is one of Europe's leading Magic the Gathering retailers. Their online shop has a fantastic selection of high-end Magic cards, especially for vintage, legacy, and yes, old school Magic players. They now exclusively offer my community free, fully insured and fast worldwide shipping on all their high-end singles, full sets, and out-of-print sealed products. They upload new cards every Wednesday and have weekly sale offers and reductions waiting just for you. Use my code TIMMY to get free worldwide shipping on your first order over $500 or euros. Have fun ordering those cards, and thank you 3for1 Trading for sponsoring this video. And we are back and ready to dive into the deck text. I'm going to start with the player on the left, that is Erwin. Let's take a look at his Robots deck. And here we see the deck of Erwin, so this is really a Robots deck, and Robot decks are decks that revolve around the artifact creatures in the deck, the Suchis and the Triskelions. Triskelions being probably the most dangerous of the two. The reason for that is that the Trike comes into play with 3+1/+1 counters, and that makes it actually a 4/4, because when you look at the stats, it's just a 1/1. But again, when you cast it, it comes into play with 3+1/+1 counters, and you can shoot those counters in any direction, to any player and to any creature. And that's what makes this such a good creature and such a hard creature to deal with if you are the opponent. So when you get this creature on the board, and hopefully pretty quickly, and look at all the Mox in here, and the Black Lotus, and a single Mana Vault, and the Felwar Stone, and the Soul Ring. So he's got everything there to cast the Triskelion really quickly. Then he can start copying it like crazy with Copy Artifact. I think Copy Artifact is the real threat here in this game. It's such a good card. 1 blue and 1 for a card that, exactly, you guessed it, copies an artifact. So you can start copying your Triskelion. And don't underestimate the Trike, because if you can attack with 2 Triskelions, you've got 8 damage, but then after that, if you want to, you can also take the counters off. That's an additional 6, so you're dealing 14 damage, and all you need is just an opening to attack with 2 Trikes. And I mean, that's, in most cases, that's kind of disastrous for the opponent. So a Trike is more than just a 4/4. It's such a versatile creature. Now he's combining the Triskelions and the Suchis with the Copy Artifacts, like I said, but also with the Animate Deaths. Animate Death is an enchant creature that allows you to bring back a creature from any graveyard, and of course under your control. So you can bring back the Triskelions, because the Triskelion has this unique thing. It can kill itself. There are only a few creatures, including the Tim, by the way, that can kill themselves. They can commit suicide. And the Triskelion is one of them. So let's say your opponent plays a disenchant on your Trike. What you do in that case is deal 2 damage to your opponent, and then the Trike shoots itself. An even better option is if you have a Sage of Letnam on the board. Can you imagine your opponent playing a disenchant on your Trike? In response, you deal 3 damage to your opponent, and then you sack it to the Sage of Letnam so that you also get a card for it. So you deal 3 and you get a card, and on top of that, you can bring it back with your Animate Death. Now that's a really, really bad deal for your opponent, but sometimes in some circumstances, as the opponent, you're forced to do this. So yeah, this is just a really strong deck, and what I kind of like, and we'll see that later in this tournament report, is that there are also Robot decks without white. This is obviously one with white, but then it doesn't have access to red. So some players choose to play the more like the burn variant, where they go for more heavy on red, and they leave the white out. Now, of course, the big plus is when you play with the white, that you have access to Disenchanted Swords, and they're just absolute top removal in old school. But then again, if you take white out and you put more red in, your deck gets a little bit more aggressive. So they're kind of like different flavors. In my opinion, the white version is a bit more controlling, and the red version is a bit more aggressive. So I think that's the best way to kind of sum up the differences. And again, this is the white version. A card I'd like to highlight in this deck is Dance of Many. It's a card you don't see that often. It's a card from the dark. It's 2 blue to cast. When it comes into play, it's an enchantment. You create a token. That token is a copy of target creature in the game. So for example, the Trike, you have an extra Trike. If the token leaves the battlefield, or the Dance of Many leaves the battlefield, then both are destroyed. And the downside of Dance of Many, when you compare it with, for example, a clone, is the fact that you have to pay an upkeep cost of 2 blue. So that can, be kind of annoying. On the other hand, in this case, it's like a 5th copy artifact. You have another way to copy those trites. So yeah, this looks like a really good deck, and I'm not surprised that it's doing really well. The winner of this match will actually advance to the top 8. So this is kind of a win and in match. The winner will continue to the top 8. So it's quite exciting. So this is the deck of Erwin. Now let's take a look at the deck of his opponent, David. And here we see the deck of David. So this deck is mono red. And what I love about this deck, before I just, talk about the cards in it, but just, I love the fact that there's no blue splash in here. I love the fact that there's no black splash in here. It's so tempting and old school, for understandable reasons, to splash Ancestral Recall, Demonic Tutor, Mind Twist, Balance, Regrowth, you name all those restricted cards. Absolutely, it's valid. I get it. It makes your deck better. But there are moments where I just love to see a wizard coming to a tournament saying, I'm not going to do that stuff. I'm just going to, I love this color. I'm going to play this color. In this case, the color obviously is red, and the wizard is David. And I've called this deck Atog Valley, named after the Atog and the Diamond Valley, because the Diamond Valley to me kind of stood out in this build. Diamond Valley is a card from Arabian Nights. You can tap it to sacrifice target creature, and then you gain life equal to the toughness. Now that works together, of course, really well with, for example, a Rook Egg, right? You can sack your Rook Egg, you gain 3 life, and then in your end step, you get the 4/4 Flying Bird. It's kind of a known combination, but I like the fact that has not really built around the Valley. It's just the 2 Valleys are in there, and I think when you play with cards like, for example, an Earthquake, then a Valley can be quite good because you can get that life gain that you're not killing yourself, right? By maybe it's your second main, right? You're going to sack your Suchi to the Valley. You're going to gain 4 life. The Suchi is also going to give you 4 mana. You can use that 4 mana to maybe play like a huge Earthquake, killing your opponent. And because you get that extra 4 life, it's not as damaging to you as it would have been, right? So I like those synergies. I think it's really cool. And talking about sacking things, we of course have the Atog, right? There are 4 Atogs in here, so this is an Atog heavy build. Atog is the 1/2 creature from Antiquities, 1 red and 1. And it reads, whenever you sack an artifact, it gets +2/+2. And when you play Atog, the Atog needs food. It wants to eat. And there is some food here in this deck. We see 4 Mana Volts. That's, I guess, the food of choice. We also have 4 Black Vices. We've got a Ruby, and we've got a Soul Ring. And, of course, the Chaos Orb, although usually you wouldn't eat the Chaos Orb unless it leads to victory, I guess, but normally you're just going to flip that orb. But, of course, Atog and, for example, a Mana Vault is a really good combination, right? Because you tap that Mana Vault for 3 mana. To untap it, it's 4 mana. If you don't untap it, you take a damage. You don't want to do that stuff, so you can just feed it to the Atog. So you can use it to maybe also play a Suchi that same turn, or, play a big Fireball, whatever. And then you can eat it to the Atog, and you can give the Atog a nice boost in attack. I also really like the combination Black Vice Atog, because sometimes you top deck that Vice in the worst possible situation. Your opponent has no cards in hand or 2 cards in hand, whatever. The Vice is not going to do much, but at least then the Vice is still a +2/+2 pump spell for your Atog. So when you play with Atogs, it just makes your artifacts a lot better. And talking about cards that make your artifacts look better, there's a single copy of Orcish Mechanics in here. And David, I love it. I love that you're playing with a single copy of Orcish Mechanics. It's a 1/1 creature, again from Antiquities. You can tap it, sack an artifact, and deal 2 damage to any target. So it can make like mini lightning bolts by shooting artifacts at the opponent, kind of slingshotting them back to the opponent. You can see the slingshot, or the catapult, I should say, in the art. I think it's just a really cool card. It's great that you're playing it here, and it's so cool to see a deck like this doing really well. There's just one more card I'd like to highlight, and that is the Sword of the Ages in the sideboard. I think it's super cool you're playing with this card. What is the problem if you play mono red? Of course, it's COP red. And today, maybe you're going to run into a COP red if we're looking at the list of Erwin. I believe he plays 1 COP red in the sideboard. A way to work around the COP red is with Sword of the Ages. Sword of the Ages, a card from Legends for 6, an artifact, comes into play tapped. When it untaps, you can tap it, sack an X amount of creatures, and deal damage equal to their power to the opponent. So the cool thing here is that because you do this through Sword of the Ages, the damage is not red. The damage is colorless because it goes through the sword. So it's kind of a way to work around a Circle of Protection red, and I think that's just super cool. So maybe we're going to see it in action. There's a small chance, but who knows? If we do, I think it's cool. Maybe David, let us know in the comments. Have you used Sword of the Ages at this tournament? And do you think it's a good inclusion in the sideboard? Asking for a friend, right? I would really love to know. I've got two sort of the ages myself, and I've used them in builds with, for example, Colossus of Sardia. I think it's a super cool card. Anyway, this is the deck of David. We looked at the deck of Erwin, so that means we are ready. Let's go to the match. Game number 1, here we go. So we've got David on the right. He's playing Atog Valley. Mono red with Atogs, and on the left, we have Erwin taking a mulligan, by the way, starting with 6. He's playing a Robots. White, blue, and black. And it's David on the play here, starting with a Mana Vault, passing the turn. And let's see what Erwin can do. Looks like he's already in the tank. Or are we going to see an explosive opening? That's the question. 7 cards now, of course, after the draw. Are we going to see a Moxen, Black Lotuses, just a lot of crazy stuff? Or just a dual land? This is, I believe, the Tundra. We've got some glare, but I think it's the Tundra, the blue and white land. There we see a mountain into a Suchi here. Suchi turn 2. Are we going to see a Swords to Plowshares here or a Disenchant? We do see that Erwin just drew into a Disenchant. There's another duel. Lots of glare, though. Hard to see. And there's a Suchi. Okay, it's a Mishra's Workshop. Yeah, that makes a difference. And there we see David taking a damage from his own Mana Vault. So Mishra's Workshop into a Suchi. So both players having a Suchi here. And I wonder if David's going to attack. His deck is more aggressive, of course. If you compare it with Erwin's. And remember, Erwin has that Disenchant that he can probably play out next turn. 1 red tapped. Okay, there's a Black Vice. I believe he's got 5 cards in hand.
4 and 5.
Is he now going to attack here with the Suchi? That's the big question. I mean, if he would know what we know, and that is that Erwin has a Disenchant in hand, you probably would attack, because now you can still get some value out of your Suchi. But David, of course, doesn't know that, passes the turn. And that's a damage here. So he's going to go to 19, drawing for turn. 3 cards in hand there for David. I believe I also see a Trike there. Does he have another land? This is an island, so he's got a Tundra, a Mishra's Workshop, and an island. I mean, it would make sense now, right? To say Disenchant Suchi, attack for 4. But of course, we don't know what the other options in his hand are. So again, Erwin in the tank here. He's going to tap the blue, tap the Tundra, and there's the Disenchant, so taking care of the Suchi. And there's the attack for 4, so he's going to drop to 15.
Call me.
And then let's see, are we going to see a pass here? We see Erwin talking to the camera. David having a sip of his beer there. Tapping the Workshop, I believe. So perhaps a Felwer Stone. Ooh, there's a Chaos Orb. And passes the turn. So again, a damage here for David, dropping to 14. But it's looking pretty good here for Erwin in this first game. I believe I see an Orcish Mechanics there in the hand of David. Not the best card at this time, but at least you could play it next turn. Sack that Volt to it. He is going to tap 3. There's the Orcish Mechanics. So this is a 1/1 creature from Antiquities. You can tap it to sacrifice an artifact and deal 2 damage to any target. And you can see Erwin here reading the card. For me, that's always the biggest compliment, right? If you play out a card and your opponent needs to read the card, that's great. Then you already have the moral victory. So Orcish Mechanics here hitting the battlefield. And there's the pass. And again, like I said, Erwin in a pretty good position here. Also with that Chaos Orb still on the battlefield. Can just attack here with the Suchi. Probably going to deal 4 more damage. Put David here on 10. David is already also completely tapped out. So, and if he can find another land, he could also cast that Triskelion. So it's looking really rough here for David. Okay, he's going to tap 2. Copy Artifact. Okay, that makes sense. There's the attack. Going to drop to 10. Going to tap the Workshop. Okay, there's a City in a Bottle. Not going to do much, of course. I mean, at least, well, I guess it's going to do something because it means that David can no longer play out his Diamond Valley and he can no longer play out his Rook Egg. So it does actually have an impact on the game. And now there are 2 Suchis here. And this is really rough for David. What he could do next turn is double block. Yeah, I believe he should still take the damage from the Vault here. Go to 9 perhaps or not? Or did he take the damage? I guess that's what the players are discussing right now. Or is he thinking about sacking it here to the Orcish Mechanics? So one of the things that David can do next turn is if Erwin attacks with the Suchis, he can block 1 on the factory, block 1 on the mechanics, and then before damage is dealt, tap the mechanics to throw the Mana Vault to the Suchi that's being blocked on the Mishra's factory. So at least that one of the Suchis will die, and of course he will lose 2 creatures, but it's at least something. Another line could be to just say, you know what, I'm just going to take 4 damage and try to kill one of the Suchis. Okay, and he is going to throw... Oh, look at that. He probably has a Bolt here. He's going to deal 2 points of damage to that copy. And I wonder if we're going to see a Bolt. And look at that. I believe I saw a Diamond Valley in hand there by David. So he cannot play out the Diamond Valley because of the City in a Bottle. And he also has, I believe, an Earthquake there. So I was thinking about Earthquaking for 2. Yeah, it's just not... I mean... That's his best option. Okay, at least he's got the Bolt. That's much, much better. And attacking for 2. I like this aggressive style. I mean, if you're not planning to block the Suchi anyway, you might as well attack also because Erwin is completely tapped out. So Erwin dropping here to 17. But yeah, David again tapped out. He's on 10. It's not looking good for him. There we see the Mox Jet. I'm expecting an attack here by the Suchi. Exactly. Gonna drop to 6. What else are we gonna see here? With that Jet, by the way, he has enough mana to play out that Triskelion that has been in his hand, I believe, since the start of the game. Yeah, thinking about the Trike, exactly. Also has a Brain Geyser in hand, that's the other card. But a Trike makes much more sense here at this board.
Thanks.
And there we see the pass. Somebody's happy apparently about the Trike being cast. And yeah, this is just not great here for David. Staring down at a Triskelion and a Suchi. Look at that, picking up the card. So game number 1 is going to go to Erwin in a very convincing manner. And now both players are going to dive into their sideboards. And we will catch back up with them in game number 2. Game number 2. Here we go. David, of course, on the play, sitting on the right after losing that first game. Starting with a Mountain and a Mox Ruby. No Atog. Passing the turn here to Erwin. I believe both players kept their 7. So that means that Erwin just drew into his card number 8. And let's see what he can do here on his first turn. Are we going to see some fireworks? You do have that a lot in old school, where you have very explosive openings with all the Mox and the Black Lotuses that float around at these tournaments. We just see a basic island and a Mox Ruby. Okay. And a pass. So no copy artifact, for example, just a pass. There's a strip mine taking care of the basic island. Now remember, David is of course playing with Blood Moon, and I think in this matchup the Blood Moon could be quite useful. The question of course is, can he find it and can he play it? But let's first see what Erwin can do in his turn 2. And there, okay, there we see a Mishra's Factory and a pass. There's a mountain. There's a Blood Moon. Okay, so this really explains that strip mine on that basic island makes much more sense now. So this could be a serious problem for Erwin. Of course, he is playing with a lot of artifact creatures that he can still cast, but still. So there's a dual land, which is now just a mountain. So he's got 3 red mana. I do believe I saw a Suchi in hand there, so perhaps next turn he can cast that Suchi. Here we see a mountain and just a pass here by David, so no Suchi for David. Does Erwin have that land? Because then he can start deploying Suchis. No, he doesn't, it seems. Or not, just asking about the hand count. For a moment I thought he passed a turn. But he's asking about cards in hand. And I believe I see 2 Suchis there, also a Triskelion. The question is, does he have a land? If he has a land or a Mox, he can start playing out some threats. He's got a card in hand. Okay, there's another land, Scrub Land, which is now just a mountain. It's going to tap 4. And there we see the Suchi and a pass. Or we're going to see a Shatter. I'm sure David boarded in some extra Shatters from his sideboard. There's another mountain, so he's got 5 mana in total. And just passes the turn. So it's kind of a free attack here. There he goes. Look at that, David taking the damage, dropping to 16. This is not good. Are we now going to see another Suchi? Because I believe I saw 2 in hand. We'll just have to wait and see. There's another land. Yeah, there's another Suchi for sure. Also a Triskelion in there. So maybe next turn he can also play a Trike. Lots of firepower for Erwin. Gonna tap 4. Probably gonna see that second Suchi hitting the board. There's a second Suchi and a pass. See that thumbs up from David, but I'm sure he's not happy. Ooh, there's an Earthquake. Wow, this is good. Taking care of both the Suchis with 1 Earthquake. Lots of value here for David. Does, of course, take 4 damage himself. Drops to 12. And also Erwin takes 4, drops to 16. But this was really nice value for him. The problem, of course, is... Oh, look at that. He's not finding land number 6. Because what I wanted to say is... Or mana number 6, I should say. The problem here is that he's got, of course, a follow play with the Trike. But doesn't have the mana for it, it seems. He's going to tap 4. Is he now going to play his own Trike? He's going to Fireball. Fork the Fireball. 12 damage. Wow. Or how much damage? It's not 12, it's 8 damage. So he's going to halve his life. It's going to deal 8. Wow, really nice move here. Forking the Fireball, dealing 8. Very aggressive. There's another land, and now we're probably going to see that Triskelion. I mean, David is playing very risky, but I like it, and I really wonder what that other card in hand is. Perhaps it's another Earthquake. I mean, if it's another Earthquake, then David can play the Earthquake, get rid of the Trike. Of course, he takes an extra 3 from the Trike. And that would mean he would drop to 5. if he would play an Earthquake for 4. Here we see the Triskelion. So there's the 4-4, passes the turn back to David. Does he have that Earthquake? He does have a plan here, tapping 4. There's a Rook Egg. Yeah, that's the perfect blocker, of course, here in this scenario. Super annoying card to deal with for Erwin. This 0-3 creature from Arabian Nights. Remember, when it dies, you get a 4-4 flying bird at the end of your turn. But there's another Trike, though. That's kind of tough. And remember, the Diamond Valley there for David is a mountain because of that Blood Moon. Gonna tap 3. What are we gonna see? Wheel of Fortune. Oh, Wheel. I'm liking this match. Wheel of Fortune. Now, David needs something good here. If he can find an Earthquake, I mean, then he can get rid of 2 Triskelions and get himself a 4-4 bird. Erwin being tapped out, of course. He needs to do something right now. And of course he's taking his time. He knows that this is a very important moment in the match. Remember, already down a game. Passes the turn. Oh, this worries me. I would have loved to see an Earthquake here. I wonder what's going to happen here this turn. We're going to see a Library of Alexandria, which is a mountain. Again, because of that Blood Moon. 2 Triskelions on the board for Erwin here. He could just turn them sideways. Say, you know what? You can only block 1 anyway. I'm going to deal 4, put you on 8. Asking now about the Rook Egg.
Maar het is wel in Arabian Nights afgedrukt. En hij triggert wel als dat. Ja, en is dat dan nog een...
Yeah, and this is a really interesting situation we find ourselves in. Now, of course, remember, Swords to Plowshares removes a creature from the game, so Swords and Rook Egg works. Then David doesn't get the 4-4 bird. The problem, of course, is that Erwin doesn't have a white source at the moment. Like a Mox Pearl would probably be so good for him right now, but he just doesn't seem to have it. Already, of course, also played out his land for turn in the form of the Loa. So it's this weird situation for Erwin where despite the fact that David is an 0-3 creature and he's got 2 Trikes, it's actually kind of a tough decision. Tapping here the Mox Ruby. Untapping it again. What is he going to do here? He just doesn't know. You can see it. He's like, oh, all my options kind of stink, but I also want to do something because I've got 2 Trikes and you only have an 0-3. I want to take advantage of this, but how? Gonna tap the Loa for a red. Okay, untap again. Tap the Ruby instead. There's a Soul Ring. Okay, that's not gonna do much. Gonna tap the Soul Ring. There we see a Chaos Orb. Okay, so this is interesting. This is interesting. Is he gonna flip? And is he gonna flip on the Blood Moon? Because that will probably open up his hand. Remember, he's playing with white, so that will probably mean he's got access to removal. Disenchant, Swords to Plowshares. All sorts of nasty stuff for David. He's gonna tap. Yep, he's gonna activate. There we see a shatter though. Quick shatter by David. Wow. David had the shatter. Taking care of the out here for Erwin. So shattering away the Chaos Orb. Five cards in hand for Erwin. Lots of lands, lots of mana, and 2 Triskelions on the battlefield. He's on 8. David's on 12. Again, one of those potentially decisive turns. Tapping 2 here. Okay, he does have the basic planes. Ooh, that changes the situation. Or are we going to see a disenchant here? There's the disenchant, so taking care of the Blood Moon. Is he going to win this turn? Tapping 2 more. What are we going to see? There's a city in a bottle. But that actually means that he is going to get a 4/4 bird token on end step. But he does now have a free attack, so he could just attack for 8. And then he can kill David, right? If I'm not mistaken, there's the attack. Tapping 3, what are we going to see? Oh, there we go. Disharmony, baby. Ho, ho, ho. This is amazing. What this harmony does, it allows you to take control of target attacking creature. And then it goes to your side and it untaps. So you can use it as a blocker. This is exactly what David needed. And this is a big problem for Erwin. So one of the things he can do, of course, is shoot off the counters in response. Exactly what he does. He's going to put him on 6 because you don't know yet what Triskelion he's going to get. So that's why he just shoots them all off. Then he makes the trade. So David drops his 6. But this is fantastic for David because remember, he's the mono red player. He's got now 2 Mistress Factories as well. And he's got the 4/4. Oh, is this the victory for David? He's got the 4/4 bird. Is it going to be 1-1 here? Are we going to go to a game 3? I think we are. I don't think there's anything that he can have right now. Attacking for 8. What can he do? That's it. Wow. What a great victory here. Well, for David here. 1-1. And I mean, I'm so looking forward to game 3. This is going to be fantastic. What a comeback here. I really thought that David was toast after that disenchant on the Blood Moon. But that disharmony changed everything. Wow, wow, wow. Really, really nice play, David. Game number 3. Here we go. The big decider. Erwin on the play. Starting with, well, I assume it's a land. Too much glare for us to see, unfortunately. There we have a mountain into Mana Vault passing the turn. But I mean, this is exciting stuff. The winner will advance here, I believe, to the top 8. And here we see a Mishra's Factory. Yeah, I believe that's a dual land there. It looks like a scrub land. There we see a Mishra's Factory for David. Does he have a Suchi? Tapping 4. Okay, there's a Rukak. Not as powerful as the Suchi. Here we see a quick Swords to Plowshares on the Rukak. And then, of course, you don't get the 4/4 bird because the Rukak is exiled. Ooh, look at this. Library of Alexandria. I wonder how many cards are still in the hand there for Erwin. Was on the play, of course, I believe 5. There we see an Atog in the pass. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 6 cards in hand at the moment. So has a tough decision to make. I mean, it's very tempting, of course, here now just to do nothing. Because the next turn you go to 7 and you get to draw an extra card with the Loa. Chooses not to Underground Sea. And he's playing out the Abyss. Yeah, that, of course, is going to take care of the Atog. I wonder if David's going to gobble up the Atog instead of taking the damage. Yeah, he's going to eat it up. He's going to lose the Atog, so doesn't have to take the damage. So the Abyss here taking care of the Atog. Now the Abyss, of course, is quite good for David if you think of the Rukak. Then again, you get the 4/4 bird that will die the next turn. So never mind, I've said nothing. The Abyss works great against the Rukak and great against the Atog. There we see a Suchi. The Abyss doesn't work very well against the Suchi, of course. 4/4 artifact creature. And how many cards do they have in hand now? 5? Probably 5.
Hij had een volstrekt onverantwoorde hand genomen.
There's another duel in hand, so kind of thinking, do I want to play something out? The thing is, now you have to wait for 2 whole turns before your Library of Alexandria gets active. If you play out that other duel land, I believe there's a mana drain in hand, then he's got 2 blue and he can start countering stuff, so this kind of makes sense. Playing the Tundra here. There's a Mind Twist, yeah, twisting the hand. Gonna twist for 3, of course. Yep, Red Elemental Blast, Atog, and Disharmony gone. Passing the turn though, but he can now attack for 6. I believe only the Library of Alexandria untapped. Look at that, gonna go for the factory. Attacking for 6, and that makes sense, of course, because Erwin only has 3 cards left in hand, so that Loa is not active at all. There's the attack, and Erwin dropping now to 14. Found a strip of his own, so he could now strip the Mishra's factory if he wants to. I believe he also has a Chaos Orb in hand, so could of course flip on the Suchi with the Chaos Orb. Tapping 2, are we going to see the Chaos Orb? There's the Chaos Orb. It's going to flip. Obviously on the Suchi, Dav's like, yeah, there's nothing I can do. Oh, it's a miss! Oh, it's a miss! It is a miss. This can have a huge impact on the game, this miss. This is big. Okay, strip mine, sure. But he's going to keep the 4-4. Wow. Attacking here. There's another factory from the top. That's perfect for David. And yeah, this is really rough for Erwin. I mean, the Chaos Orb was the perfect answer for the Suchi, but missed the flip. And of course that can happen. It's happened to me as well, but it's... In Dutch we say, het is zo zuur. It is so zuur. But it has happened. There we see another duel, and just a pass. He's going to take another 6. Probably. There's the attack. Not with the Mishra's factory. Doesn't want to run into a disenchant, I guess. Then again, the disenchant would of course go to the Suchi anyway. But maybe he's got a card in hand that he wants to play out or keep his options open. Who knows? There we see an Ancestral Recall. Are we going to see a Red Elemental Blast? No, we're not. Going to draw 3 cards. Will the Ancestral Recall save him here? This is such a thriller of a match. Erwin on 6. Facing a Mishra's Factory and a Suchi. Just played an Ancestral Recall, drawing 3 cards. Can he find an answer to one of the 2 threats? I mean, a Divine Offering on the Suchi would be brilliant. Would get rid of the biggest threat and he would go up to 10. Asking to have a look at the graveyard here of David. There's not a lot in there. I mean, he plays with Animate Deaths, right? So he could Animate Death an Atog just to use it as a chump blocker. It'll die to the Abyss. But there are no really good targets for him. But at least it's better to die. You know, it's a better option than dying. I mean, it's better to just get the Atog, chump block on the Suchi. You know, it's something. Basically, it turns your Animate Dead in a prevent 4 damage. And he does have an Animate Dead in hand there, yeah. I can see it now. And Erwin realizes that he's in a tough spot, you know. He's like, okay, what to do? There we see the Animate Dead. Okay, so he is going to get the Atog probably, right? It's the only option he has. And remember, it gets -1/-0, so it's an 0-2. He doesn't have any artifacts, does he? If he would just have like 1 Mox, he could feed it. That would be a great protection from the factory. But yeah, this is going to be really rough for Erwin. But at least his Atog buys him some time. I mean, it's basically an extra turn. Yeah, somebody are looking at that 1 card. You want to know what it is. So do I, but and I'm sure so do you, but we don't know what it is. Erwin's still really in the tank. It's like, I don't want to pass turn like this with my O2 Atog, but yeah, what can he do? Passes the turn, untap, upkeep, draw. Okay, is David going to find its way here to the victory? Remember, it's 1-1. There we have a mountain. There's the attack. He's going to block. And there's the pass. And again, I'm a little surprised that he doesn't attack with the factory. I really wonder what that one card in hand that he really wants to protect the factory. There's a factory of Erwin. There's the pass. I'm going to draw a second card. Two cards in hand for David. There's the Diamond Valley. Now he's going to animate his factory and he's going to swing for 6. Erwin, of course, I kind of feel like, I mean, he could trade the factory, but I kind of feel like he has to block the Suchi here. The thing is, you play against red. If you take 4, you're on 2. That means bolt range. This is very risky. Of course, he's going to animate. Throw it in front of the Suchi. Take 2, go to 4. Passing the turn here. And I have to say, Erwin is doing a great job in buying himself time. Does, of course, have the mana drain to mana drain a potential deadly lightning bolt. Again, they're looking at the graveyard. There's nothing really in there. Does have a black card in hand. Is that a demonic tutor? I mean, he could, if it's a demonic tutor, he could tutor for a divine offering, perhaps. Killing the Suchi. Of course, in response, David can eat it up with this Diamond Valley. Yeah, really difficult situation to be in for Erwin. Four life left. Staring down at the Suchi and the Mishra's factory.
Ik denk niet meer dat ik eruit kom, maar goed. Wat te denken hoor. Dat is heel simpel.
5 cards in hand. One of the cards is a mana drain. We know that. One of the other cards is a black card. That could be a demonic tutor because he already played out the Mind Twist. Played out one of the anime deaths, and I don't believe it's an anime death. So he's going to tap 2. Are we now going to see... Yep, there's a demonic tutor. Okay, now the question is, what is he going to go for? I mean, it's not as cut and dry. There's not really one really good card that you could go for. And you don't want to go for balance. Because David only has 1 card in hand, and balance just, you know, cleans up the Suchi, but that's it. So then you might as well go for disenchant or something. It looks like he's thinking about copy. You could copy the Suchi. But then you're basically trading, and if your opponent has a shatter, I mean, you still die. Swords to Plowshares there, another option. Very efficient. Putting another card to the front. Looks like a blue card. I can't really see what card that is. So it has some options. Wonder what card that is. I'm gonna think of 3 options. Psionic Blast, perhaps. But I mean, Psionic Blast would be really bad. You deal 2 damage to yourself. You drop to 2 and you still die to the factory of David. So 3 options there. One is the Swords to Plowshares. The other one's a copy artifact. And then there's a third option. I am a little bit surprised that one of the options is not a disenchant. I mean, maybe it is. I couldn't see the cards that well. So he's putting one card back for sure. I would personally, again, I don't know what cards are in his hand. I would be tempted to just go for a disenchant. Just, you know, kill the thing. And of course he's going to eat it up. If you have a divine offering, do that. But you know he's going to eat it up with the Diamond Valley. But in the rare case that he doesn't, then at least you gain some life. And the swords just doesn't seem to be that good because you're going to give him 4 life. Then again, he's going to get that anyway for the Valley. So maybe swords is actually better. Now that I think about it, swords is better than disenchant in this case. Because swords is only 1 white. And he's going to gain life anyway because he's got the Valley. Okay, and again, Erwin here talking to the camera. I'm sure he's like, can you believe this? Well, it's really happening. You're with your back against the wall. But I mean, maybe this demonic tutor is going to get you back into it. At least it's going to buy you another turn. I'm sure of that. Then again, it depends, of course, on what choices he's made. I wouldn't go here for the copy. It's just too risky. Yeah, it's for the swords. Exactly. Gonna sword Susuchi. And he's gonna gobble it up, of course, so he's gonna gain 4. Or not, he's gonna let it be removed. That's actually better because you're playing against anime debts. And I believe this is just a land that Erwin there played with lots of glare. Yeah, there's the attacks. It's probably just a land. It's gonna take damage. Gonna go to 2. There's a Vice. Ooh, but he doesn't have a lot of cards in hand, does he? Don't think so. So the Vice is not going to do much, I believe. I think he's got 4 or less cards in hand. Well, we'll see. We'll find it now. Untap, upkeep. No damage taken. Okay. 5 cards in hand now, I believe. No, 4 cards in hand. Okay. I think there's a city in a bottle there? I mean, it's not going to do that much. Get rid of the Diamond Valley at least. The problem, of course, is he's on 2. He needs to get rid of the Mishra's Factory. Gonna tap 2. Yep, there's a city in a bottle. Yeah, it's just not going to do much. He's also going to lose his own Library of Alexandria here. And he's going to play a basic. And that's it, winning the game. You remember that Swords to Plowshares came from his own graveyard. So winning the game, wow. Man, I'm a little bit surprised, to be honest. When I looked at the deck lists, I'm like, oh, I think Erwin is really a favorite here. But David, I have to say credit where credit is due. You played a great game, and I think that this harmony, that was the highlight for me of this match. Well done, and thank you to you both for showing your skills right here on the channel. And if you are enjoying these matches, make sure you stick around, because in the next episode, I will have more action for you from the Hill Giant Cup. Then I'm actually going to show you the semifinals played at this great tournament. Now, if you don't want to miss a thing, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring that bell. Thank you for doing that. And if you're already a subscriber, thank you for supporting the show and watching the videos. Before you go, please leave a like, comment to this video, and share it on your socials. All these things are free and really help the channel move forward. Talking about moving forward, you can also become a patron of the show. Check out patreon.com/TimmyTalks to find out how you can help me to continue making this content for you. You can already become a sponsor of the show for just $1 a month. Thank you so much. So if you have a moment, please check out patreon.com/TimmyTalks.
What shall we do with the drunken sailor? What shall we do with the drunken sailor? What shall we do with the drunken sailor? Early in the morning, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises. Early in the morning, putting in the longboat until he's sober, putting in the longboat until he's sober, putting in the longboat until he's sober. Early in the morning, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises. Rises early in the morning. Pull out the plug and whack it all over. Pull out
number Kazee.